Well, it's a wonderful Wednesday morning, and I've been walking for about 2 hours and 3.5 miles-ish. Been trying to wake up. I'm like a hobbit. I like my 6 mini meals a day. I quite like staying at home, but I'm also down for a fine adventure. At least once I'm midway into it. Anyway, so I was thinking about a problem earlier. Came up in Greek archaeology class last night, and we were looking at some early Greek architecture, like this village community called Myrtos, and some other places. In common, it seemed that they quite liked to build their houses on hilltops. And it wasn't quite for defensive purposes, because at the time, being attacked wasn't too big of a thing to worry about. So some of the classmates were wondering, why was it that the early Greeks built their houses so high? I need to explore this a bit more, but my feeling is we should remember the tremendous importance of Greek religious convictions. And I think it's quite possible that they wanted, rather nobly, to live close to where they imagined the gods lived. In the sky. And then I start to thinking about lots of places in Hebrew scriptures which seem to address the same urge, the same inclination to want to live close to the gods, to want to live close to God. And in the Hebrew scriptures, the message usually seems to be the sincerity is appreciated, but it's probably not the best way to live. Like, for instance, the Tower of Babel story. In this, as you might recall, the people who would become Babylonians built their places higher and higher and higher. And as the legend goes, well, it didn't end well. Turned out that language became confused, and a pure speech needed to be restored at some later point. A pure unified speech. Another example, you might think, is in the Garden of Eden. And that tale, which very well may seem confusing to our modern ears, there's essentially the same sort of urge, same sort of inclination, temptation, and the same sort of response or message. Yeah, it sounds nice to know everything, but it's better, healthier for us to live in mystery and in wonder, and to not feel like we have to carry the weight of the world. We shouldn't be like Atlas. In Greek mythology is the sort of thought running fractally throughout the scriptures. Another example I thought about was there's this one time where the Ark of the Covenant is being carried back to where it's supposed to go, and it falls. And you would think that the best thing to do would be to pick it up. You can't let the things of God fall down. But in this case, so the story goes, you're not supposed to pick up the ark. It's not your responsibility. It's not my responsibility. Now, in context, the story was already off to a complicated start. But anyway, let's take another example. Later on in the New Testament, the Apostle Paul is saying something like, let me bring up this hymn for you. The way this hymn goes, listen to how it goes. It says that the Christ Jesus, the Logos, the logic holding everything together, the Tao, the way, the truth, the life, Jesus, didn't want to stay in his ivory tower separated from the mess. But he goes to the mess. And he blesses it with his presence. He gets his hands dirty. He strives to heal, to comfort the uncomfortable, and to, disturb those who think that they are in comfort, but only so as to help them become more whole, better, more saved. So, that actually reminds me of Dr. Peter Rollins. On YouTube, there's this comics strip that he's devised, and he imagines that those of us who want to escape things as the way they are might be well-intentioned, but he thinks that Jesus inscape. He would go into the mess. He would mourn with those who mourn. And you may disagree with some aspects of his theology. You might disagree with the historicity of the Tower of Babel and goodness, a lot of what I've said so far. And all of that's fun to discuss and debate. But anyway, let's start bringing it home. I think one of my difficulties as a teacher is grading. Because I care about every single detail. And yet, I don't have the time to care about every single detail. I keep wanting to strive for perfection. But in my case, it would be better to strive for excellence. So, I am tempted to have the knowledge of God. I am tempted to build the Tower of Babel. I am tempted to escape. But I need to inscape. I need to be okay with not picking up the ark. I need to be okay with not being Atlas. And that's challenging. But at the same time, it's incredibly encouraging. And anyway, I think I opened with an analogy of being a hobbit. So let me go back to that sort of thing to tie a book in. So I've been telling stories this whole time, and you've probably been believing what you're seeing. And that's awesome. That's awesome. But there's so much more that happens all the time. So many sounds that this video can't capture. So many sights that I can't show. Wonder is all around. Even when things seem dull or depressing. I'm also reminded of another quote from Dr. Martin Luther. And that goes something like this, or it's less of a quote and more of an idea. Ooh, look at the turtle. Oh, turtle. Hello, turtle. Aw. Good to see you. Anyway, in his commentary on Galatians, he's talking about passive righteousness. Some people like him and me need to hear that it's okay to not be the actively perfect one. It's okay to rest in perfection. It's okay to rest in the wonder all around. Different people need to hear different things. Different people process things differently, and that's okay. Anyway. What a beautiful day. What a beautiful day. Also, I think another thread I forgot to pick up was this. Hold on, forgot it for a sec. It'll come back to me. So beautiful. Oh yeah, here's the thread. So, you see and hear what I've been recording, which is awesome. Now imagine how wonderful it is every single moment, every single day, just to be able to hear and to see, or to not hear and to not see, to exist. Isn't it strange and cool? We can question everything epistemologically. And yet, this phenomenology seems to remain. Oh, also, postscript. Yeah, that's one thing I appreciate about the Hebrew scriptures is it seems like they're brutally honest. Sometimes that brutality feels harsh. Really, really harsh. And then you can bring up the problem of evil, problem of pain, problem of death, problem of doubt, problem of the hiddenness of God, and so on. But it's really so mysteriously grand that we get to sense anything good, really. Isn't that wild? Isn't that cool? So this was going to be an Instagram video, but I think it'll be a little bit too long for that. So I think what I'll do is put this on the YouTube channel. Anyway, now I've actually been going for 2 hours and about 4 miles. Oh, postscript. I wish that my brain worked like Thomas Aquinas, with everything systematically presented. And I do try to outline things. But it's tough. Different things occur to me at different times. A script would probably be helpful. But if I had a script, then I'd be worried about the script. And I might not be able to perform other things. So it's always pros and cons. The more important point is trying to be here now. Trying to be focused and present. So, to the doubters, to the questioners, to the sick and the suffering, to the poor, to the ostracized, much love and peace to you. Thank you for being you.